Okay, it's recording. All right. So the first step is to define the problem, and we have what can we do to help the at-risk teens. And then next it asks how important this problem is. So even with that, it says the next part, it says who can be affected by this problem. So I mean the kids are obviously affected by the problem, and then
the parents.
Okay, parents. And then ultimately that like affects everyone. So I mean it can affect the whole community, right?
Right.
Okay. So we have so who's affected? We have parents, community, and then the kids themselves.
Yes.
I guess like their friends kind of could be affected too, because if they're like doing getting into like drugs or gangs or anything like that, stuff like that, that can affect their friendships, which could get those kids involved too.
Right.
There's that one. And then the question before that, it was asking how important is the problem. So obviously like that's a huge problem within the Youngstown area, especially with like all the crime and everything. Because it leads
and they're mainly caused by juveniles.
Yes. Yeah. So with that, that's a huge problem within Youngstown.
Yes.
And then next it asks, it says, do you need to define special terms or words related to the problem? I don't, not really. I mean, I'm not really sure what that's about, but
that I was wondering too. I'm going to have to ask questions.
Okay.
With Professor Wilson.
Okay. All right. So we can go from there. So we have our problem question already established, so we're good there. And then even with that, like it just keeps saying, just cite sources as needed. So as we're finding this information, we'll just continue to cite it, and like keep track of everything there.
Right.
And then the next step is analyze the problem and its causes. So, you sent me a file last week or something with the different questions that you had. So, like how the one affected. It was basically saying like how helping the at-risk teens could help other things, and you had like how it's caused and prevention things, stuff like that.
Yeah, and also identifying the problems.
Yeah.
Like what is identifying an at-teen risk too. I found warning signs.
Okay.
For that.
Okay.
I don't know if I sent you that one because I found that I think afterwards after I sent it to you.
Okay. All right, so we can start looking at that. That's part 2 of this one.
Okay.
So the first step, it says, in what situation does that problem occur? So, and it talks about, in that, it says, like, place, time, and culture. So we can start there. And then the next, it says, what facts have you gathered? So you have, I think basically all of these would be outside sources, though, because it says outside source, interview, or observation. And these are all outside sources, right? Okay.
Right. They're all outside.
Okay. So it starts talking about that, and then it goes into more. And I was looking at, to begin with, I didn't take into account all of those that you were looking at, like what causes that and everything. So if we go ahead and get that started, I can start looking at how to generate possible solutions. Because I can do interviews. I have an interview with someone who did it at Mount.
Okay.
So we can start it with that. So if you want to break down into the next meeting, if you want to keep looking up the problems and its causes, which was the step 2, I can start looking at the general potential solutions and alternatives, and then that way we can both we can compare what we found and we can like pick the best from there. If you want to do it that way, because then we still have 2 more steps after that.
So we'll just take it in stride.
Yeah.
Of what we can get done.
Yeah.
Which will be good for me.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good for me.
Okay. All right.
And then
so-
that way I can work on my end and then work on yours. And we'll just keep in touch.
Yeah, and then
So-
we can, if any of us have ideas from either one, we can change or add or remove things too. So,
Okay.
yep, so works good for me. So,
Same
all
here.
right. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Hey, how do we send this?